tight. Oi. Okay. Okay, 2018. If anyone's still left in the cafe, come on, out you get now. And so, let's get you all nicely that lined up. Obviously, if you're probably thinking you might not finish at the front, it might be a good idea to go slightly further towards the back, and then the faster the bit, so get there first. Okay? Trailffest, so we really get going. I can't have a clue. This one.
Door or not? I should tell Nico on this guy.
Oh, there she is, okay.
Look at it, style.
Come on, see what hour they're going to drive as well.
Come on, come on.
Thanks very much, guys. Goodbye now. See you soon. There goes the train.
Right, so when Dan Collister, Rasio going down. Dan's just in second place.
just ahead of our third place runner in four. Give him a round of applause in the Trailffest 2018. Dan Collister, Diane Dan Toll and Andrew from St Helens. Little Andrew, first lady in Trailffest 2018. Give him a big round of applause.
That was at 9!
Hold on, Lawrence, you can stop now, mate. You can stop. There you go. Go get another bottle. You got your bit where this Savler overall. Oh, get it stop your hand. His time's going to be around about 1:47. Well done.
Okay. The front wall and the back wall, architecturally very different. Quite an elegant stone structure with granite arches. At the back here, underneath the scaffold, you can see there are flat brick arches going through to a rather crude lean-to construction at the back. When we came to investigate the roof structure, we found quite a lot of the woodwork was second-hand, and the two A-frame trusses in the middle, clearly a bit of a lash-up fabricated on site, we believe, which would indicate that the roof came off something else on site. If you look at the truss at the end there, it has slots for roofing joists that are no longer present. So we believe that the roof was built at the same time as the building was converted from something else, because it doesn't go with the front wall. I think it's more of an era of the back wall. What we have here is the original core oven for the foundry. Not exactly sure what a core oven does, but it originally had a brick ceiling that you can see springing point from here, went over to there. At the far end, here, there were a pair of iron doors. And what you could see from the outside was this brick arch. You can see it on the old photos, and the iron doors. This is a modern addition, and there is a school of thought that we should get rid of that and restore this with respect to the building.
Here we've got Moyle Hebog, which has probably not been featured in one of these videos before. It's here because we're doing quite a few different jobs to it. It's got a bit tired. The particular problem was with the starter motor ring gear, which was worn away in areas, so the loco was refusing to start. So this has been, well, the ring gear has been turned round, so the unused side of the gear is now in use. And the motor sits here when it's fitted, and it engages in these teeth here. So that will now work rather better, and the loco should start more reliably, hopefully. The other thing we're doing is we've taken out the clutch, which normally sits here. That's gone away for an overhaul because that was tired and worn. And then back here, you see we've got the top off the gearbox, which has been difficult to operate for many years, as anybody who's tried to drive this loco will testify to. So that's had some repair and improvement, and again should work rather better. But Moyle Hebog's, although it was theoretically retired from normal service many years ago, actually we've needed to keep using it because the permanent way S&T departments have more and more engineering trains to run, so we've needed to keep it in service, and so Moyle Hebog's now having a bit of serious attention, which say will hopefully keep it going for a number of years to come. So this is one of our ex-South African Railways flat wagons. Some years ago it was converted to a rail carrier, so it's now one of a pair. But as you can see, there's a lot of corrosion gone on underneath, and we've decided to build it a new chassis. So what's happening here, this is obviously upside down at the moment, and all the useful bits we need to take off are being cut off this old chassis. And in the back of the shop there's a new one, which we'll go and see in a minute. And all these bits that are coming off, the brake gear, the bogie centres, so on and so forth, will all be transferred to the new chassis. And the guys here are just putting some steel sheets on it to come inside, which will make decks for wagons and so on. So this is the new chassis for the South African wagon, the rail carrier. It's all been built here over the summer. I think we had some French engineering students did this and another one. So now all the bits will be transferred over to this chassis. There's a slightly different construction in that all these joints are just welded on our modern version, whereas on the original a lot of the structure was riveted together. But the way we work now, it's much easier to just weld the corners together, and hopefully in this environment with a good coat of paint on it, this will last for many years, many years of carrying rails for the permanent way department. Here we've got the start of the new boiler for the Wellinhelly, which is now living here. The old boiler has been, well, there's some wastage on the outer wrapper, and the decision's been made to build it a completely new boiler. Obviously there's some wastage all over the boiler. It's an old boiler, so there comes a point where it's probably better to replace the whole boiler rather than trying to keep repairing the old one. So this is the start of the new boiler. It's got a foundation ring here, the flanged tube plate and firebox back plate, and in a firebox wrapper. The various other parts have arrived as well to start the job. There's a boiler barrel and some other bits and pieces. It's not a full-time works project, it's a bit of a part-time project, but over the next few months and so on, this will gradually take shape. Okay, so we're building bogies for the Ravenglass and Eskdale railway carriages. First pair of bogies are finished, and they're under the observation car in the carriage works. The second and third pair of bogies are for a standard class carriage, for which we've got the chassis ready. And the third pair of bogies is for another design of carriage that has not been settled on yet, but we'll be building hopefully in future. So these are the axle box bearings just going on. These are axle boxes, new axle boxes for the Linders front truck. the old axle boxes, which originally came from the Moyle Trivan. The Moyle Trivan's rear four-wheel truck was dismantled in the 1950s, and the axles and the axle boxes were used as front trucks for the Linde and Branch. Anyway, the Linde's axle boxes are now life expired, so we're replacing them with some new steel fabricated axle boxes, which is what you see here. And then maybe the old axle boxes, just somewhat worn, maybe they could return to be part of a replica or recreation of one of those North Wales narrow gauge single fairleys in time, who knows. This is the Linde's front truck assembly. We were looking at the new axle boxes, which obviously will sit on the journals here and here, and inside the truck frame there when it's all back together. The wheels and axle have been replaced a few years ago from the original single fairley one, so that's a new wheel and axle, and now with new axle boxes the truck should be in good order again to do many miles. It's just one of the little jobs that we have to do to keep on top of keeping things running reliably and smoothly. So this is the Romanian hopper wagon, which is a very useful engineering vehicle for dropping ballast onto the track. It's in here because the wheel sets have been reprofiled. You can see they're all nice and shiny and smooth looking, but they'd worn quite badly on the flanges, so the bogies have been completely dismantled, wheels reprofiled, the brake gear's been tidied up and overhauled, and whilst it's up in the air there's a few other jobs going on the wagon. It's got nice new galvanised steps because the old ones had rotted away. So here we've got Welsh Pony, which is back in the works. It's not been worked on just at the moment, but hopefully in the next few weeks work will restart on the chassis here. Some of the next jobs to do is to assemble all the valve gear between the frames. All that valve gear has been overhauled. It's pretty much all original, but it's just had some new pins and bushes, and that'll be ready to go. And the outside motion can also be reassembled. And yeah, then we've got outer frames to go back on, which are in good condition. They'd not suffered any of the damage that the inner frames had. And then there'll be the buffer beam and the rear drag box and frames, which hopefully we'll be able to use all the original material there, can go back on, and then it's a matter of final assembly, which sounds easy, but still quite a bit of work to do. Yeah, so Merthin Emrys is now come into the works. We kept it going for the vintage weekend a couple of weekends ago, but it's in here now for a winter overhaul. The bogies need to come out from under the loco. We know there's a crack in one of the bogie frames, which we've been monitoring and keeping an eye on to keep it running well, particularly for the vintage weekend. But now they say the bogies will come out and it'll have an overhaul that it's due for which will probably involve reprofiling the wheels, the usual rebushing and general maintenance that that they need. But we need to do this type of work every 2 to 3 years, because the double engines and the Garretts can clock up 10,000 miles a year, which for a 2-foot gauge steam loco is quite high. Not as high as they might have managed back in Victorian times, but of course we don't run absolutely every day of the year like they used to then. But still quite high mileage for a narrow gauge heritage loco. So consequently, they need lots of maintenance and looking after to keep them reliable. Okay, so here we've got the lid. It's partially dismantled at the moment because we think it may have a superheater element leak, and to get at them, we've taken out of the front here the spark arrestor mesh, which is dismantled over here to get at it. There'll be some more dismantling to get at the elements and pull them out. You can see, looking in here, you can see how rusty all the steel surfaces are. And the reason for that is that the coal has a sulfur content, and when it's burnt and combined with a bit of moisture in the smoke box, you can generate sulfuric acid, and that gradually will eat at the steel and corrode it away. More recently, we've been using more and more stainless steel components in the smoke box, but it's not possible to use totally stainless steel areas, although some of the bits you can see here, these plates that are black, those are stainless steel, and you can see they're not corroding anything like the mild steel parts like these here and the drum of the smoke box itself. I say more recently we've made whole smoke boxes out of stainless steel, and this seems to be very successful in reducing the levels of corrosion. But, obviously all boilers are subject to corrosion and wastage to some degree, and one of the things we have to do is every 10 years we have to take a boiler out of the frames, take away all the insulation and cladding, take all the tubes out for a full examination. And this 10-year exam, that's now come due for Garrett number 87, and that boiler up at Venus at the moment, that's been stripped. As I said, everything's all the pipework, fittings, everything else will come off it, so it's a bare boiler, and that boiler is going to go away for an overhaul. Not because we couldn't do the work here, it's just at the moment we're so busy that we haven't got time to do that, or the space to do it, because at Venus most of the staff are busy on Garrett number 130 trying to get that available for traffic. A new boiler for that is imminently expected from Northern Steam Engineering in Stockton-on-Tees, and when that boiler arrives we need to put lots of labour and effort into assembling 130, hopefully to be in service next season. As I say, 87's boiler is going away, and it should go away in the next week or so. But we've also got 2 other Garrett boilers away at the moment, being worked upon, and that's because in the next few years the boilers of number 138 and number 143 will again come due for a 10-year exam, and So in order to keep those locos available for traffic as much as we can, we are having 2 other boilers worked on outside. One of the boilers is the boiler that was donated to us by the Puffing Billy Railway in Australia. They have a Garrett number 129 that they're rebuilding and converting to 2'6" gauge for use out there. Now in Australia they don't have as much boiler repair capacity, but they did have the capability and funds to build a complete new boiler. So they decided they would build a completely new boiler for their Garrett, and so the boiler that was in that loco became available. It's a 1968 Hunslet built Garrett boiler, and they offered it to us. So what we've done, we've sent that away to loco maintenance services in Loughborough, where they're basically giving that boiler a big overhaul, including quite a lot of new platework sections in the back head, dealing with basically corrosion damage that occurred in South Africa when the loco was in service. And that will be tubed, hydraulic tested, maybe steam tested, and then that boiler will come back to us, and we'll probably use that in number 138. The other boiler we have away at the moment is the boiler that we were using in number 143 until quite a few years ago. That boiler nominally, I suppose, belongs to Garrett number 140, but that boiler anyway is away at Israel Newton's in the Peak District, and they are doing a very heavy overhaul on that boiler, including a complete new inner firebox, front barrel section, say a very, very heavy overhaul indeed, which when that comes back to us it'll be probably a 60-70% brand new boiler, and we anticipate putting that in number 143 when that becomes due for a 10-year boiler exam. Say again, comes due a year after 138. As you can see, the rebuild of the Harlech Castle is now complete. It's got a widened bonnet, which gives us more room for the vacuum brake gear, which has now been fitted. As you can see, the hoses on the end, the vacuum brake hoses. That'll allow us to work a greater proportion of vacuum braked engineering trains, which for the permanent way department in particular should improve the safety and efficiency of their operation.
Right, so we've got the Raven glass carriage here, largely finished. Few air pipes to paint. It's on its own bogies on special skid wheels, and yeah, except we're missing one rather important area. We're promised that the glass will be here in another 2 weeks, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But all the lads have now moved off this and are working on the Welsh Island observation carriage. It's rather luxurious, even if I do say so myself. And yeah, it's a testament to the lads that work in the workshop here for what they've produced. So we've got Welsh Island observation carriage 2152, Gwythrai. Making good progress because obviously all the lads have now moved off the Raven glass carriage and are working on this. We've ordered the glass for the curved end, and we've started putting all the the ceiling liners have all gone in, and we'll soon be starting to stick the internal ceiling in. What else have we done? Hopper windows. They've been made to work with hinges. The glass for that will be getting drawn up very soon, and we'll order that. And the external skin on the carriage will be going on in the next few weeks too. It should make reasonable progress over until we have to start the next Raven glass carriage. In this one we've got CNC cut out roof stick liners to help make the shape for the roof. We did that with the Raven glass carriage as well, and it sped up actually production of this. It comes from a company in Llangefni, and they're all exactly identical, which makes life so much simpler. And it looks very impressive too. Right, so we're here in 2040. It's a Winson built carriage from 1997. We've done nothing to it in that time on the interior. So what we've decided to do this time is these windows are all failing. You've got a stainless steel surround here with a mild steel bit on the inside that actually holds the glass to it. And they're all corroded and they're all slowly falling off the glass. Unfortunately, the way they're designed is you can't get the glass and the runners out without dismantling the whole interior of the carriage. So we've decided to actually take these away altogether and put a fixed window in there, and we're going to put hopper opening windows in all the top areas, very much like we've done to carriages 2091 and 2042 last year. We're also going to put new lighting in the standard of all the others, with the trunking, new speakers, new lights. And our HLF apprentices are at this very moment building seats and a new set of doors for this carriage, which will be done well sometime in the early new year. We're hoping to put new tables in as well, and generally freshen the interior up, and fresh coat of varnish on the bits that are being kept.